picture this real quick. The year was 2022. Yeah, not very long ago, was it? And after so long, we were finally, slowly but surely getting out of quarantine. It was finally starting to feel like the dreaded 2020 was finally escaping from its infection. So, taking up on the opportunity, our family booked a trip to Greece. And so many things happened there. The beaches, the weird chocolates, the 4-hour car journey to get to the only McDonald's on the island just to get some cheap plastic Sonic the Hedgehog 2 toys, only for them to be selling some bullshit DreamWorks ones. And of course, the hyper-realistic inflatable crab. However, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about something else that happened to be released during that holiday. I was browsing my phone, the very same phone I'm using to write this video, no less, and I came across a video about a Friday Night Funkin' mod called Indie Cross, and this was perfect timing. I was already in a Friday Night Funkin' phase at the time, and I was already incredibly familiar with Cuphead and Bendy, and although I had never played Undertale at the time, I still knew the lore and the characters. So I scrambled to find every crevice of the mod online, finding out every little secret, but I yearned to be able to experience the mod for myself. And sure enough, after we got back from our holiday, the next day, I rushed over to the PC, downloaded the game on GameJolt, and had a blast. This mod is still incredibly important to me to this day. It showed me that even the simplest of game engines can be turned into something massive. And to me, truly showed off the power of the internet and its people. Friday Night Funkin', at the end of the day, is still just a little game jam game made by a couple of people in a few days. Yet, here it was, taken by the community and turned into something massive, with over 40 plus people all working on the project, and that was something truly special to me, and left a permanent impression on little old 11-year-old me. And then the series came out, and I didn't really care. Yeah, I never watched this series until, just now. Indie Cross, the series, not the mod, was created by Moro, the former director of the Indie Cross mod. The first episode was acting like a sort of prologue to the second episode, which was much, much longer, and was a lot more fleshed out. And as a man who likes to talk about and review indie/web animation, I feel like it would boost my insolence if I talked about this show for a minute. So, enjoy. Heads up, this is a review of episode 1 and 2 only, not any of the what-if scenarios/boss battle animations. We're strictly focusing on the episodes only. Alright, now let's get it on with. Now, even though I'm assuming you've already watched Indie Cross, a lot of what I'm about to talk about won't make a whole lot of sense if you haven't watched it. So, for you absolute diehards of my channel, who strictly watch my videos and only my videos for indie animation recommendations, then here's my crackpot version of the story. Episode 1 basically follows a bunch of characters from various indie games as they are thrown into a weird void-like place full of portals and robot-looking things. And here we meet our main protagonists, Shovel Knight, Cuphead, Frisk, Celeste Girl, and the Knight. As far as I know, he doesn't really have a proper name. They beat up some robots, they fight each other for a bit, they find a talking pacifist robot thing, roll credits. Episode 2 follows them jumping into a portal and spending most of their time at a bar, meeting a few more characters and following a B-plot about some guys from a game I've never heard of. Oh yeah, and the C-plot is Frisk trying to solo the entire Five Nights at Freddy's universe. Yeah. Easily the best part about this package is those sweet fight animations. There's a reason why a lot of Moro's previous content was just about mashing two characters together and making them fight. So many camera shots and visuals going on all at once, working together to look like stuff from a professional studio. Everything just feels super excellently choreographed, and just generally flows super well. And shows off the sheer stylization of the mix of 2D and 3D animation well. It's clear to me that Moro has a lot of experience in this field. Not so much when the characters are just standing around though. Yeah, I don't know what happened here, but the characters just kind of look off where they're not doing anything exciting. It also shows off the unfortunate quirks of switching out a 2D character for a 3D model every now and then. Like, you could really tell that this is just a 3D model of Shovel Knight and they just plastered an outline and a cel-shaded filter on it, and expected us not to notice. It also seems like Moro really struggles when it comes to things blowing in the wind. I mean, just look at Celeste Girl's hair or Cuphead's straw. It looks like they're having a damn seizure. They also trace artwork and animations from the source material, and yeah, I get it, it's a video game character, of course they're gonna use the same moves, but I don't know, it feels a little too blatant here. I would have preferred if they had just remade the animations with the originals as a reference. Really, for me, it's all about putting in the effort where it doesn't count. But of course, I can't complain too much, after all of this gorgeous animation was, in fact, made by just one person. That is damn impressive. So of course corners are going to be cut in order to try and get the episodes out in a somewhat reasonable time frame. So I'm just going to move on to the next thing on the list before I get into any more Twitter controversies that I'm already in. The voice acting is probably the thing I'm most mixed on in this package. First of all, I'm glad they kept a lot of the characters who are made to be mysterious as silent characters. But as for the others, some of them are really good, but some of them are also really, really lame. For instance, on one hand, I think Shovel Knight's voice acting is really damn good for what it is, and excellently portrays the character for what I know about him. Celeste Girl's voice, whom I just remembered her name is Madeline, is pretty good stuff. But as for Cuphead, I don't know, man. Throughout my watching of the episodes, I kept thinking about who it might be, because I could tell from the voice that damn well wasn't DA games, only to be hit in the credits by this fuckso. I mean, looking back on it, it was literally staring at me in the face. For every time I think I get to know Michael's voice, I get jump scared by his name in the credits of another indie animation. But in my opinion, I think this is one of Michael's poorest performances. His voice just kinda sounds like he's trying to do a poor impression of the DA Games voice from the mod, when I would much prefer for him to really do his own thing with it. It just really could be a lot better, and in my opinion doesn't really compare to DA Games' version of the character. The story is easily the most polarizing thing in this entire package, but one thing was extremely clear to me. The amount of enjoyment you will get out of this show will entirely depend on how familiar you are with these franchises. For instance, I am a massive fan of Cuphead and Five Nights at Freddy's. I have Undertale and Hollow Knight in my Steam library, but never got far in them. I know what Celeste and Shovel Knight are, but for the rest of them, I have no fucking idea what I'm looking at. So it's kinda hard for me to understand these characters or what the hell they're doing when they're fighting. So it just constantly felt like that there was something holding me back from fully enjoying the show. Because I just know you guys in the audience who know every single character here are having the damn time of your lives with this show. Also, when we meet the characters for the first time, we're never really properly introduced to the characters. We're kinda just expected to already know. But looking at the fact that this is meant to be a crossover series where the characters are just immediately thrown into action without context or warning, there wasn't really any other way they could have done it, so I'll give it a pass. You're probably wondering why I haven't talked about the characters too much, and that's because, well, there isn't really a whole lot to talk about, because these are characters from other properties. They don't really feel like they serve a role in the narrative, they just kind of feel like they're just, well, there. So it really just brings us back to our point from earlier, which is that your enjoyment will vastly differ depending on how many of these characters you know or understand. Overall, I feel like Indie Cross just generally feels like a fanfiction turned to reality. It's not the best story-wise, like I said, it depends on how many of these characters you know, but from the animation point of view, it's some pretty great stuff. I feel like the story could be greatly enhanced and made better with interesting concepts and scenarios to put the characters through. And whilst we did get a bit of that in episode 2, most of it was just spent with the characters talking at a bar. But the series is yet to be finished, and I feel like if we get some more interesting scenarios and perhaps some more characters, then I feel like we could have something good on our hands. I recommend you watch it if you know at least half of the characters. Any less, then you're going to be pretty lost in most of it. So yeah, that's all I have to say.